Okay, got a chisel here. Nice hollow in the middle of it. I've been using this chisel for a couple weeks now and it's just not cutting the mustard, so I'm going to try to flatten her out. Of course, worst case scenario, which is not this scenario, I'd probably throw this away if it was, because they're $10 chisels from Harbor Freight, but this right in here is a low spot on mine. Worst case scenario is that's your high spot. That'll cause your chisel to rock back and forth as you're trying to use it. If you're laying flat on a surface and your center is high, your chisel's going to rock back and forth, cause your corners to dig. The hollow in the back just keeps your cutting edge from really cutting smooth the way you want it to. So show you how I fix this. I've already done this with the rest of my chisels and helps a lot. So already a minute into the video, let's get started. Phone up here on the cabinet just right. Hopefully I catch this. Okay. Pull that off. Dust off everything. Everything nice and smooth. Table saw is the flattest thing I've got, so that's what I'm using. And yeah. So hopefully the camera will catch that. Let's get started. Check for progress here. Yeah, it's shining up on the outsides like I know it would, because that's our high spots. So just keep going until you get that pretty flat. You'll end up with a shiny spot in the middle. If you stay a little bit dull in the center, it's not going to hurt you much. You just want to get as much space up front there that's completely flat as possible to let your chisel do its job. Okay, so this video is going to get entirely too long if I keep this up, if I go all the way through. So you're going to start with heavier grit sandpaper to get the meat off of it. The 60 grit, 3M, and then I've got, I'll go to 100 grit, also 3M. Doesn't matter what brand, I guess, just whatever you've got. The aluminum oxide seems to wear out fairly quickly, but it's what I have. I'm a woodworker, not a steel worker, so this is what I've got. I'll move up to 220, and by this point, before you leave the 60 grit or whatever the heaviest you have is, you want to get it nice and flat. After that, you're basically just polishing and honing it. So if you go to 100 grit on the back of your chisel, you should be fine. I would recommend wherever you get the hollow out, wherever that stops, wherever you get real super shiny and get rid of the hollow. I use the edge of my table, so I just keep my sandpaper back a little bit so I don't cut myself on the edge of the sandpaper, and just use that as a guide for my finger to write across. Obviously you wouldn't want to do that with plywood or glass, but I've got about a 3/4 inch wide piece of aluminum there that I can ride my finger on, and I'll just keep doing that until I get it to where I'm satisfied with it. Now this has still got a long way to go, but since this is such a wide chisel, it's going to take a while. I have been using 600 and 2000 grit on my other chisels. And if I get one of these, you can see up a little bit of smudge off of that. And I don't know if the camera will catch itself or not, but you can get a pretty good reflection out of this chisel just by using this process. And of course, I did polish my bevels as well. You don't have to, but I don't like a hollow grind on my chisels. So I figure why not go with a high polish. One, it's easier to tell when your chisel's getting dull because out towards the edge you'll start seeing scratches and scuffs and things of that nature. So it's easier to keep your chisel sharper. Also, I don't like a hollow grind, so it does take quite a bit more time to get your bevel polished, to get it sharp and then polished. I do have this $13 little chisel honing guide here. I use it for my planer blades too. It works great. I did have to do a little bit of filing on it when I bought it. These surfaces did not sit flat with one another, so the blade always wanted to tip one way or the other. And this is a 3-point contact system here, so this one will have, I'm not sure which way I'm holding this. Okay, no. This side is bowed in, so the center of this will hit your chisel, and this one is concaved this way, so the two corners catch your chisel. That gives you 3 points of contact, so your chisel will not walk. It'll want to sit nice and flat against those 2 points, and that single point will hold it in there. A 3-legged stool will not wobble, but a 4-legged chair will, regardless of your ground or how straight your chisels are. If you can afford a better set of chisels, please, by all means. It's always worth the investment to buy high-quality tools. Ryobi's great for homeowners, but if you're doing something for a living, obviously it's not going to last as well or work as quickly. This is my hobby shop, but I still like to try to see how good I can make a product. That's the thrill of it all. See how good you can be, and having tools that do their job properly is just a big part of that. So hopefully this helps somebody. If you're cutting an edge or flattening a board with your chisel and you see it gouging, either you're not holding enough surface area flat on your project to curl that off and causing your corners to dig, and that'll make you roll it one way or the other. It's just the way your hand is. It's just ergonomics for you. I guess that's what they'd call it. But if you have a flat back on it, perfectly flat back on it, makes it a lot easier to use this way and flatten the board. And it also gives you, having the polish on it, or smoother finish anyway, even if you don't go this far polishing it, when you cut down into your board for a mortise, you've got less friction there because it's smoother, it's flatter, it's just much slicker. So as you're jousting down into that, even the cross grain, you're going to have less friction, so it's going to let that edge sink in deeper. These chisels are ridiculously sharp. Actually, I didn't go quite far enough on the bevel of this one, but I mostly use my wider chisels for hogging, my mid-range chisels, and these wide ones I use for flattening boards and before sanding. It just saves a lot of time and sandpaper because I can resharpen this. I can't resurface sandpaper, obviously. With wood, I go to 320 at the most. Usually about 220 is the furthest I go, but yeah. So that's how you flatten your chisels by hand without power tools, and turn a $10 Harbor Freight chisel into I'd say a comparable chisel to that, with that kind of flatness to the back. Probably cost you about $80 for a set of 5. or more. I don't know. The less you pay, the less time they're going to put into perfecting it. So if you're going to save money and buy a $10 set of Harbor Freight chisels, take the time to make them right.